Today we have the updated and revised 2025 Subaru Forester. Most of the time I have the top trim of vehicles, but this one is the second from the bottom, and I still think you're going to be impressed not only with this trim level, but with what Subaru is offering for this revision on this 2025 model. We're going to take a look at the exterior, the interior, and get it out on the road for a test drive. Let's get started. All right, y'all, let's take a look at this refreshed 2025 Subaru Forester. So first of all, let's start with the trim levels. We've got the base, the premium, which we have here, sport model, limited, and the top end touring. So this one being the premium, definitely a lower price, not quite as flashy looking, and the overall design is refreshed. But you're still gonna get LED headlights as standard. We even have LED fog lights on everything except the base model. And these LED headlights even are adaptive. So you've got the steering responsive headlights. They'll turn left to right when you're driving. And you've got LED daytime running lights. The paint color on this Subaru is the Crimson Red Pearl. And these are paired with 17 to 19 inch wheels. 17 inch wheels on most, but 19 inch on those upper trims. And all of them are gonna have all season tires. You've also got some body cladding down at the bottom, which can be helpful considering you might take this thing off-road. One thing that varies a little bit is the mirrors. They get fancier as you go up in the trim level, like turn signals, you know, on the top 3 trims. But we can also get heated mirrors and windshield wiper de-icer on everything except the base model. Dimensionally, the Forester is 183.3 inches long, so not super long, not quite as long as some, but a little bit longer than some other subcompact type compact crossovers. Ground clearance is fantastic at 8.7 inches. That is like pickup type territory with that ground clearance. Subaru's always good about that. You also get roof rails up above, raised roof rails on everything except the Sport model. Sport model gets roof rails, but they're just lower profile. Now, design-wise, it's definitely not my favorite. It's a little more wagon-esque, if you ask me, compared to some of the others, but I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Kind of an upright rear end here in the back, so let me know what you think. Now, Subaru now gives us the option for a hands-free liftgate even on this trim level. So Subaru adventure vehicles, if you've got your hands full, you're carrying some gear, you can just swipe your foot, and there we go. Hands-free open, and it also has the hands-free close. So you can use a key fob as well. You can use a button on the inside. You can just push a little tab right here and you're good to go. Now, taking a look at the cargo area back here, there are some nice practical things about this. Not only is it fairly spacious, but we also have these dedicated tie downs that have these holes where you could even hook like a carabiner type thing up there. They work great for grocery bags. You've got the same thing over here. You also get a 12-volt power outlet back here. Also nice to be able to charge some stuff. There's even a tonneau cover right here that you can move or take down if you'd like as well. And we've got this cargo floor with some space underneath of it as well. So this is good storage. And in addition to that, you get a spare tire down there. Spare tire is standard on all of these trims. Now, one thing is that upper trims can give you a one-touch folding option for the second row seat. We do not have that in this premium model, but hey, you got these little tabs. If you can reach them, it's like spring loaded, ready to go. Increases your cargo space. The base model actually has more cargo space than the rest by a little bit, just over 70 cubic feet. And the rest of these are still nice and spacious. So some people use these to camp in. You've got pretty good up and down clearance. You've got pretty good length right there as well. And it's fairly flat, so you could definitely manage with that space. One other nice little feature is that right up here, you've got 2 lights. So you can actually have some bright lights to where if you are using this camping at night, you don't have any light, you're pretty well covered with the extra light built into the tailgate here. That's nice. Now, Subaru gives us this key fob. It is pretty much just all plastic, but it's got some heft to it, so it feels fairly reasonable here. One thing that you'll notice is there's no remote start button on here. I wish that there was, but here's the way that it works. So smart key system on everything but the base model. To lock it, you've got these little lines right there. You can just press that, and then it is a sensor in the back. So there's no sensor on the back door, it's just the back of the handle. But let me tell you about these seats. So you'll have cloth seats on the lower couple trims. Sport model gives you leatherette. The seats themselves are comfortable. I've got no complaints. You've got some pretty good bolstering right here. In fact, this cloth is actually kind of soft. Some of the cloth I've been in lately, or in models past, it's just been hard and firm and just kind of a rough cloth. The base model has manual adjustment with no lumbar support. The rest of them are going to give you lumbar support and your typical power adjustments. The upper couple trims will also give you a power passenger seat, but it's a manual adjustment here. So the main differences is the trim of the seat, cloth, leatherette, or leather on the top couple trims. The steering wheel is leather on everything except the base model, and it can be heated on the top two trims. It's a manual tilt and telescoping on all of them though. Heated seats are on everything except the base model, and it is right there. The screen has to be on in order for you to turn that on. And I've been pretty comfortable in this Forester. I like these seats. They've got good bolstering. We've got lumbar support on everything but the base model. Heated seats here. The only thing is we don't have ventilated seats on any of these trims, and the memory settings are reserved only for that top touring trim. The back seats are never really all that exciting, but at least they are spacious in this Subaru. There are some differences between some models and the base model, but let's hop in. So sitting behind myself, I'm 5'9". There's a little bit of cutout in the back of the seat. We have two mat pockets actually built into both sides. Good leg room, good foot room. This is actually quite nice. You also get air conditioning vents back here. You've got a USB-C and a USB-A charging port. That's not on all trims, or not on the base model, but you do get that here. And then I think this is probably where the heated seat buttons go. Heated seats are on only the top trim here in the US. Since it is all-wheel drive, there's a little bit of a hump in the middle, but it's really not too bad. Not great for foot space, but still good space on both outboard seats. Another thing that you don't get on the base model is this folding armrest. At least you get this with cup holders on the rest, but the base model does not. I can also sit up tall with the seats where they are and have good space even with the hat. Button start is right back there. You can also reset your trip computer with that button. Then over on the door, with our premium model, meaning second from the bottom, we've got cloth material all up here. You've got some pretty soft material on the armrest, so if you put your arm out the window, that's nice. This armrest down here is actually a good size, and it's got a softer material to it with a little bit of padding. Front two windows are automatic one touch as well. And this is good for a tall, skinny bottle, but not like a big mug necessarily or anything quite like that. Over here, we've got more light adjustments. You can open up your tailgate there as well. And then one thing that surprises me is that every model gives us this little screen. One of the most underwhelming things about this Subaru is this little screen. Shut the door here and show you what you get. At the top, there's just a little bit of information that you can scroll through up there. So that's kind of surprising to me, even on the touring model, but at least it still shows you what you need. You can toggle between trip information down there, and it gives you what most people are accustomed to. It's just not nearly as nice or fancy looking as so many other brands nowadays. Steering wheel controls, you've got some mostly audio controls here. Your voice, you change your information display on the steering wheel with this tab, and then all your driver assist features over here, like your radar cruise control, your drive mode, your lane centering technology there. So that is all right there. Now, moving over to the screen, there is a difference between the base and some of these other models. A 7-inch screen is standard on the base. This one obviously is larger. This is an 11.6-inch vertical layout screen, their Starlink system. The base model is going to have wired Apple CarPlay, like what you see right here, but we have wireless Apple CarPlay. In addition to that, we get a wireless charger on everything but the base down there too. But I've got a case like this on my phone. It charges wirelessly in pretty much every other car. But in the last couple Subarus I've had, this case, apparently this little ring right here, does not work with their wireless charger, so it won't wirelessly charge unless I take the case off. Small complaint. You can turn that off if you want. I turned it off because it just makes this terrible noise like it's trying to connect with the phone and charge, but you have some wire or some plug-ins down there as well. The base model does not have this USB-C. I believe it's going to miss one of these two charging ports down there. But with this screen, wireless, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto, you can get a 360 camera on the top trim. Not on this one, you've just got your basic backup camera, but you can get a 360 camera if you want to. The base model also doesn't have quite as many speakers as us, and you can even move up to an 11 speaker audio system with this Subaru. You can go to this home button and toggle through different vehicle specific settings. You've got your auto stop start shut off, your vehicle hold function right there, more vehicle specific settings you can get to in there. The X mode, this is Subaru's like off-road mode, essentially for optimal traction. The vehicle will take over and help you out as much as possible with that. Like you can see, your steering responsive headlights, adaptive headlights are standard on every single trim, which is really, really cool. Your climate controls are somewhat built into the bottom here, as well as your temperature buttons being on the outside. You still get a volume knob and a tuning knob there. I don't love the layout right here. It's not the most responsive screen, or it doesn't give you any feedback, but if you tap on here, it will expand everything to make things larger and easier to operate on there. Now down here, I showed you the wireless charging mat. We also get an electronic parking brake. We've got good sized cup holders. I like this diagonal pattern, and I like how there's room to be able to like swivel this mug around and still have enough playroom down there. 12-volt power outlet right there. You even have a little rubber lined tray down here. This is nice, so stuff doesn't rattle and slide around. The armrest is actually pretty rock hard, not gonna lie. It doesn't slide forward, but you can lift up, and it's a little bit on the small side there, but it works. Over here, Subaru gave us kind of some nice trim right here. Didn't expect that on here. Up here is also not a hard plastic. This isn't hard plastic, so some nicer trims and offerings from Subaru. This glove box is not a locking box, but it's decent size on the inside there. A couple more things. We have a manual flipping mirror. You can option up to get an automatic dimming rearview mirror, but we have a manual mirror on this model. We still get LED interior lighting. You got a sunglass holder right here. And Subaru gives us what they call a panoramic roof. It's not quite like all the way back like some, but it's larger than most, and I think it's on everything but the base model. One little complaint I would like to see Subaru change is to give us visors that slide instead of these sliding pieces, because you've got a pretty big gap right there for that sun to come in, and so many brands offer you those other visors. But overall, this is a nice Subaru, can't complain that much, and you've got pretty good visibility out of here. Now under the hood, Subaru keeps things pretty conventional. We've had the Boxer 4-cylinder engine. We still get the Boxer 4-cylinder engine. There's just one option here. There's no plug-in, there's no turbo, there's no hybrid, nothing like that. So under the hood right here, all trims are gonna get this 2.5 liter Boxer 4-cylinder engine with their CVT. It's gonna give you 180 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. The top three trims, not this one, still get the CVT, but they have an 8-speed manual mode. So I haven't been able to drive that, but something to keep in mind. All-wheel drive is standard on all of them, and MPG is pretty close, except those top ones lose a little bit on the MPG marker. MPG is 26 city, 33 highway, and 29 combined. And towing is a little bit of an Achilles heel. You don't expect a lot with these crossovers of this size, but it's 1,500 pounds. That's it. All right, y'all, let's get behind the wheel of this Subaru Forester. So being revised for 2025, the Subaru driver assist features, the Subaru EyeSight, is also revised, and it is standard across the board on all trims. So we've got the radar cruise control, we've got the lane keeping technology, you've got the automatic braking, and it's done a nice job. It's I haven't had anything to complain about with it. It's not autonomous or anything quite like it is with some vehicles, but it still does a very nice job and takes some stress out of driving, and it's nice that Subaru makes that standard. Subaru also improved the suspension, stiffened up the chassis to give this better ride quality and a quieter ride. Now, full disclosure, I have not driven any Subaru Foresters prior to this one. This is actually my first Forester. I've driven the Crosstrek, the Outback, the Impreza, and this is the first time with the Forester. But I've got to say, it's a comfortable ride. I think Subaru definitely focuses on comfort in here. It's a fairly soft ride. It's a little bit of a cushy ride. You know, like when you're turning and you're taking some corners, you can feel the lean and the softness of the suspension, which can be good and bad. One thing is that these are very popular in the mountainous areas, and mountainous areas often have sharp turns and curves, and this might not feel nearly as comfortable or nearly as confident as some other vehicles. Quick note about the interior ergonomics: everything works pretty well. I still wish the climate controls were not mostly touchscreen there, but otherwise everything is pretty simple. The small display here is a little bit kind of throws me off, considering this is refreshed and it's on every trim level. Basically every other brand has updated their cluster in one way or another, but I don't mind it at all. I like the old-fashioned analog gauges for the most part. But let's get on with the test drive. Partial pedal. Alright, so the biggest knock that most of you are going to have with the Subaru is going to be its driving dynamics and its power. Now, the vehicles that this compete with, they're not fast. They don't have V6s. Some of them have some larger turbo 4-cylinders, but most of them are just kind of your basic run-of-the-mill average horsepower power plants. This is still kind of on the low end as far as that goes, but it is efficient considering it's all-wheel drive standard across the board. Now on this rough textured road, I can hear probably a little more of that road noise than I do in some other vehicles. So even though Subaru updated and made it quieter, it's hard to compare, but there's definitely still some audible noise even though this is a rougher textured road. So slowing down and turning, I can feel the softness, kind of like I had talked about with taking corners in a vehicle like this. But let me get pedal down here. Alright, now with the CVT you don't get this typical geared shifts. On the top few trims you actually get a manual 8 shifting mode with the CVT, but we don't have that in this model. So if you don't really care about how it feels when you accelerate or the amount of power that you have, I think you're probably going to like everything else about the Subaru. But if you enjoy the driving dynamics of some vehicles, many of the other ones have a more engaging spirit when you're driving and a little bit more power. Partial pedal. But on the Pro with the CVT is that it seems to have you in the right RPM to put the power out. I'm going to put us in our sport mode here. The RPMs kick up a little bit, so it's holding these RPMs around 2,000. And it does a good job getting the power out. You still have a little bit of that rubber bandy type effect at the end of acceleration. I am not totally confident passing someone on the highway with this compared to some vehicles. However, for the most part, it has been perfectly fine getting on the interstate, getting going. I'm just trying to compare it to some of its competitors. But driving dynamics wise, I think comfort is the biggest takeaway with this Subaru. Comfort is very good. It's a soft ride. Nothing's real harsh in here, especially with these 17-inch wheels. The larger wheels on the upper trims might have an effect on that. Maybe not, but it's still fairly comfortable. And it's easy to drive. You got good visibility out of here as well. You've got all-wheel drive. You've got good ground clearance, good sight lines and visibility pretty much out of the whole vehicle. So it really depends on what's important to you with the driving characteristics and driving dynamics. The standard safety features are obviously a big plus as well. But let's go ahead and wrap things up. So to close things out on this 2025 Subaru Forester, personally, I'm not a big fan of the way it looks. But looks are such a small part of what make a vehicle. I really appreciate that Subaru actually gives us a base model. The base model is more basic than some other base models. It's under $30,000 as well. You've got the Subaru EyeSight system revised and standard on every single trim level now. You've got the all-wheel drive standard, the same engine, so you get the same capability and safety features for the most part on the base model that you get on the other trims. And even when you get to the top trim, you still don't quite get decked out as much as you do as some vehicles, but Subaru still has a lot to offer with its capability and its practicality. Let me know what you think of this Subaru Forester down below. Thank you so much for watching.